Hey, this is Wendy Handy, and wow, what a fun episode I had with Dr. Ellen today. I learned a lot, and I find that all of this stuff, no matter what part of the health and wellness space you're working in, we all work together synergistically to help you get, where you want to be health-wise. So I had a lot of fun. Thanks so much.
You're welcome. It's awesome having you on, Wendy. Welcome to the Rock Your Midlife podcast, your transformative sanctuary designed to guide you through self-discovery and provide the tools you need to find your purpose and navigate life authentically. Whether you want to optimize your health, boost your happiness, or deepen your self-love, this podcast is your ultimate toolkit. Welcome to Rock Your Midlife. I'm Dr. Ellen Albertson, the Midlife Whisperer, and I'm delighted that you're here today because we are talking all about wellness and vitality uncovered, health insights from a functional diagnostic nutritionist. My guest today is Wendy Handy, and she has been a health consultant for over 15 years, and she is passionate about helping her clients achieve their health goals, whether that's just to get healthier or they need support with some kind of chronic health illness. So you're going to want to listen up because I know that Wendy is going to have a lot of wisdom to share. But before I bring Wendy on officially, I want to just share with you an encounter I had yesterday with a new client. And, I'm hearing this a lot from women, this idea that I hit 50 and suddenly it felt like I had just dove off a cliff. My body just doesn't feel like me anymore. I've gained like 10, 20 pounds overnight. None of my clothes fit. I don't feel like I have changed my lifestyle. So I'm still exercising. I'm still eating. I'm not sleeping well. And I'm really grouchy. Like I feel like I'm, yelling at my kids, yelling at my husband, getting those hot flashes. So I'm here to say that this is normal. It's really, really hard, but I find, even myself when I was going through menopause, we really weren't talking about it the way we're talking about it now, but the body makes a big shift. Estrogen receptors are everywhere. They're on your brain, your heart. It affects bone. It affects your mood. It affects every aspect of your being. And that's the hard news. But the good news is that there's a lot you can do about it. There's a lot of things that you can do in terms of doubling down on eating right, moving your body more, particularly doing that strength training to preserve your bone and your muscle mass, making sure that you're sleeping well, working on your stress, asking for help, seeing the right medical professionals, whether that's someone like myself or Wendy Handy, to get some coaching and get some insight on what's going on. She said to me too, and I hear this all the time too, her doctor, I said, did you go to your doctor? What did your doctor say? And he said, it was a woman, said, just let nature take its course. And I was like, when I hear that, it's definitely time to see a new doctor. And there are marvelous doctors out there. You want to look for somebody who is certified in menopause, who can really listen to you, have that conversation, whether or not hormone replacement therapy is a good option for you, and just give you things that you can do. And that's a lot of what we're going to talk about on this show. And I have to say myself, even though I did everything right. I've been a dietitian for 30 years. I'm a board certified health and wellness coach. When I was going through menopause, and I didn't even realize I was going through menopause, first I was diagnosed with clinical depression. And then right around age 50, I was finishing up my dissertation to get my PhD in psychology under a lot of stress, having teens and tweens and a challenging marriage. And I was working as a personal fitness trainer, like working out way too much, not eating quite the right foods. I thought they were the right foods. And my gut just went downhill, like nothing was digested. It was totally gross. And I'm thinking, kind of a little ashamed, like here I am, a registered dietitian, and nothing is working. I didn't know what to eat. Whatever I ate, my gut just hurt. Nothing was digested. I had loose stools, brain fog, hot flashes, all of the things. The first thing I did is I went to a gastroenterologist, and they had all of the tests done that they tend to do. And they were just like, you're fine, nothing wrong. And, they did a colonoscopy and all the tests that they had in their book. And they just told me go on a FODMAPs diet, which is like incredibly restricted. Basically with FODMAPs, they just cut everything out. So the only produce you're eating is maybe, iceberg lettuce, cutting out all your fiber, totally disempowering your microbiome, there's microbes in your intestines. And I was like, that's just not the path for me. So fortunately, I saw a naturopath And lo and behold, he diagnosed me with Hashimoto's disease, which is a disease where your immune system, it's an autoimmune disorder where your immune system attacks your thyroid gland. And that was causing all of this imbalance. I think I probably had some leaky gut, which can happen when you don't have good integrity in your intestines. And so things that shouldn't be in your bloodstream start to leak through your gastrointestinal tract into your bloodstream. Again, more autoimmune reactions, more inflammation, and you just basically feel crappy. So I guess the long and short of it is that, gosh, there are answers out there. And I think Wendy is going to give us a lot of information about what we can do when we start to feel off. And I think that's something that happens to, I'm going to say, most women. As you go through menopause, your hormones shift, your microbiome actually starts to shift. There's less diversity of the microbes, and it starts to actually look more like a male microbiome versus female. And there's things you need to do because your microbiome actually recycles things like estrogen. It's super important for your immune system, for your, mental health, for how you feel. But there's a ton that you can do. So if you go to a physician and they say, just let nature take its course. Or you go to a physician like I did with the gastroenterologist who gives you information that's like, no, this does not feel right. Listen to your gut and find someone who wants to support you that feels right. So let's bring on Wendy. Let me introduce this woman. She's got an amazing story. She has been a health consultant with over 15 years of personal experience. Her passion, again, is helping clients achieve their health goals, whether they aim to just get healthier or need support with chronic health issues. She empowers clients to make sustainable lifestyle changes that lead to lasting results. As a functional diagnostic nutritionist, she uses foundational labs to uncover hidden stressors, combined with the DRESS for health success. I love that idea. DRESS for health success protocol, which is diet, rest, exercise, and stress management, 4 of my cornerstones. And quality supplementation, also super important to have quality supplements that are really geared for you. Her comprehensive approach restores energy, health, and vitality. Welcome to Rock Your Midlife, Wendy. I'm delighted to have you here.
Yeah, thanks, Ellen. It's great to be here with you.
And you look
Thanks for having me.
sensational. I don't know if you're seeing this on YouTube. I love your hair. I just love when women let their silver shine. You look amazing and so vibrant and healthy, but it wasn't always like this for you. You were a busy real estate agent before you made the switch. Tell us a little bit about your story.
Yeah, so that's going back about 15 years ago. That's where my personal experience comes in. And I was selling real estate at the time, which is a very high pressure, high stress job. I was eating, like you said earlier, everything I thought was right. I thought I was eating the best things, and I was over exercising. So I was running marathons, and in 1 year, I ran 6 marathons in 1 year. And that is, even just one is very hard on your body, but 6 in a year. So I was doing all the things that I thought were right, and they really weren't right. And I ended up with a diagnosis of ulcerative colitis. And it just, it took me down. I was in and out of the hospital. I was desperate to get relief. And, going to the traditional gastroenterologists, they put me on medications to the tune of 3 different immune suppressant medications.
Wow.
And one is bad enough that's going to wreck your immune system, but 3 at once. And I just, I did not feel like this was my destiny. I was told that, this is going to be you. This is the rest of your life. And that really just didn't sit well with me. I knew that wasn't my destiny. And so I sought out the functional medicine route. And even though it took 3 years, I have been in remission for over 10 now and feel great. Have had no signs, symptoms, or anything of ulcerative colitis.
Wow, that is an amazing story. I want to point out too that I was there too, working out 4 to 6 hours a day. We have the sense that more is better. And, particularly when we're going through midlife and we've got aging parents and we've got kids and we've got maybe a stressful marriage and we've got work to throw on, like less is actually more when it comes to movement, walking half an hour, 45 minutes a day. I know I was eating way too much gluten. I had gone through, when I went through dietetic school, it was all eat no fat. So I grew up with like, oh, wheat is good. And that actually, really, took did a number on my thyroid because the gluten receptor is very similar. When you put gluten in your body produces antibodies which actually attack your thyroid. So yeah, it's crazy that, I think that there's a lot of good things about traditional medicine. If you break your leg, if you have a heart attack,
Yep.
I got breast cancer, I had some, conventional treatments, but a lot of times they just throw a hand grenade instead of like, let's get to the root of what is going on. And I'm so glad that you did that, because when you take these drugs and you suppress your immune system, you put yourself at a danger, risk of all kinds of other things.
Exactly. And that's exactly like a hand grenade. I love the way you put that, because that's exactly what they're doing. They're just taming down that symptom. And but what is that doing to the rest of your body, right? And how long is that going to last? And so yeah, the functional medicine getting to that root cause. And we may never know exactly what was first, which came first, but what we can do is when we use our foundational labs is to find out where those imbalances are and work to correct all of those imbalances and get the body back to where it is, where it was meant to be, which is to heal itself, right? The body is so intelligent and so innate on doing what it needs to do in order to heal itself. And once it's in balance and you keep it in balance, you'll run like a well-oiled machine.
Yeah, I have to say, I feel amazing at 61. And it's just like, you think about it, you cut your finger or you break a bone, like your body, it's that sort of really mystical, the energy of all that is knows this divine intelligence knows how to fix your body. And we can support and feed that by eating the right foods, by doing the right kind of movement, by getting sleep. I find that that's, in myself included, really working on my sleep has been one of the most important things that I've been dealing with, and working on our stress, because when we are in stress, cortisol levels are high. What happens is, we start to accumulate this visceral fat around the belly, which we don't like the way it looks. And it really is dangerous fat that's underlying inflammation and lots of diseases. And we're in fight and flight instead of rest and digest. So we really have to work on this and take this holistic approach. So I'm curious, what are some common misconceptions that you see with the people that you deal with around achieving your health goals?
So I think that a lot of times people will feel like it's all or nothing, right? And so taking one diet, for example, like it's got to be the keto diet, or it's got to be the paleo diet, or it's got to be the Mediterranean diet. And that's not true for anybody, but it's also not true. I mean, we need to keep rotating things around. Actually, a rotation diet is probably the most helpful for the gut microbiome. And so I think people with the misconception that it needs to be all or nothing. Same thing with exercise. It needs to be all out, full on exercise, or don't do it at all. And that's just not true.
Yeah, I love that. It's about balance. And I also tell people too, it's about having fun and enjoying it. Like, I don't eat salads as punishment. I don't know where we got this cockamamie idea that we, are punishing ourselves. I think, that diet industry where we go on these crazy diets, we externalize our hunger, we follow a piece of paper instead of listening to our body, getting some support from, a good nutritionist. And then we hate our diets. We feel miserable. We're not listening, to our bodies and what we need. And same thing with exercise. We're going to the gym, we're beating ourselves up, we feel sore, we're creating all this inflammation. I think you're right. It really needs to be a balanced approach. And I also encourage people, take it a step at a time. Like, one of the biggest things that I do with so many of my clients initially is ditch the diet soda. So many women, I don't know if you find this, are addicted to diet soda, particularly the Diet Coke, right? And so they're getting that caffeine. Their body is thinking like, where's the calories? You're drinking this and your body still wants that craving of that food, or they're eating a lot of processed foods, which are basically hijacking your taste buds. You just want more and more of it. They can be very addictive, and it changes your microbiome. So you start to get a microbiome that's craving those foods. It's asking for more, but you don't need to do it all the right away. You could, yeah, give up diet soda, or, go to bed, try to go to bed at 10 o'clock. Carry an apple and a handful of almonds for your afternoon snack instead of having, the usual Snickers bar or going by the break room. It doesn't have to be that all nothing. And I love this idea of of rotating your foods. And it's something I do because I live half the year in Vermont and half the year in Costa Rica. And my diet's very different when I'm in Costa Rica. It's a lot more like tropical fruit, eating more fish. And then when I'm in Vermont, we don't, I live across the street from the lake, but it's a freshwater lake, and it's, a lot more kale and a lot of a different. So I haven't heard that sort of rotating it. So let's talk a little bit about these foundational labs. And I'm really curious because that hasn't been part of my training as a registered dietitian. How do you use foundational labs? What are they, and how do they uncover hidden stressors, and why are they so important to really getting to the bottom of not just, the issues that you're having, but like how you can feel your best?
Yeah, so that's a great question, and I do get that a lot, is why do I even need labs? Well, we don't treat the paper. So it's not like we're going to run a lab and then say, "Oh, the lab says this, so this is how we're going to go approach this." It's done with the lifestyle and the medical background and kind of going through, everybody's very individualized. And so it takes in account, we look at the hormones, we look at the gut, we look at the gut lining integrity, we look at the immune system, the detoxification system, how well are you digesting foods? And so all of that plays into if you have symptoms, that all plays into it. And so we look for the upstream challenge, the upstream problem, the upstream issue that's causing all of this stuff. And it may not be what you think. Somebody may come to me with gut issues, and yet it really is a hormone imbalance, and it really is more stress related. And stress can be many things. It doesn't necessarily just mean emotional stress. It can be those stressors that, whether it's chemical or environmental, that we can't get away from, or the stress of not having enough sleep, or the stress of eating the wrong foods and your body's reacting to it as though it's foreign, or the ultra processed foods that so many people love to eat that isn't food, and the body doesn't recognize it as food, and it doesn't like it. So we
Yeah.
use those labs to kind of get to, getting the body back in balance, one piece at a time.
Yeah, it sounds like you're a bit of a detective and trying to figure out
Yes,
all of the different pieces. I can imagine that it's fun. So tell us a
it's
little bit
fun.
about this Dress for Health Success protocol, and how does that benefit your overall health?
Yeah, so dress for health success was a term that was coined by Reed Davis, who is the founder of FDN. And it stands for diet, rest, exercise, stress management, and supplementation. And so it's really the foundation of any good health program is, making sure that you're eating whole foods, making sure that you are getting, 7 to 8 hours of good rest, and doing some sort of exercise. It doesn't have to be running 6 marathons in a year. It can be just a simple walk for 30 minutes. And also, managing your stress. And then, we do need supplementation. Unfortunately, our topsoil is no longer what it used to be. Even the best of intentions to grow vegetables and fruits, it isn't what it used to be. And so we need to supplement in some areas. And then if there's a chronic issue, we need to supplement maybe a little bit more in certain areas to get that body back in balance. So we use all of that as the foundation for getting the body back in balance and feeling that vitality again.
Yes, more supplementation is key. I think the things that I recommend people doing, certainly vitamin D. We have an
Yes.
epidemic of low vitamin D. It's inexpensive. It's easy to take unless you're getting a lot of sunlight. It's not found in a lot of foods. So vitamin D is super important. Again, you should, ask your doctor, can test whether or not you have levels, but it affects everything from, bone to your immune system. Certainly omega-3s. I mean, unless
Mhm.
you're eating fish a couple times a week, and again, we've got the fish with the issues with the toxicity and mercury, that can be an issue. So, most people they're getting too much what's called omega-6s. The balance of omega-6 to omega-3 is off. And then I usually recommend people taking either, working on that microbiome, either taking a probiotic supplement or eating some kind of fermented food on a regular basis. So we make our own sauerkraut. I make my own kombucha,
Mhm.
certainly yogurt, pickles, kimchi are all really great, but to keep that microbiome healthy. And Magnesium, calcium can be really good, particularly magnesium can be low, and that's really important for women at midlife, helping you to relax. But it's important to sit down with somebody who is educated and can kind of look at your diet. I really feel like we should get most of our nutrition from our foods first, but those are the kind of the big things that I see missing. Do you have any things that you usually see that are missing in terms of, basic nutrients?
Yeah, I would say magnesium is a big one too. You mentioned that, and I think that's another close to epidemic. As people are
Mm.
very, especially as we get older, the magnesium levels are tend to go down, and the vitamin D. Even I live in sunny Florida. I'm out in the sun all the time. Well, I don't put on sunscreen. I take the dogs for a walk every morning, so I'm out first thing in the morning, and I still need to supplement with vitamin D because sometimes it's an absorption issue, sometimes it's a detoxification issue, sometimes it's, you're just not absorbing it properly. So vitamin D, magnesium, and I do like vitamin C for the antioxidants too. So
And I also have to say fiber.
fiber, absolutely.
95% of Americans do not get enough fiber. And the recommendation for women is 25 grams. Recommendation for men is 35. And lots of reasons that it's important. It fills you up without filling you out. So it's really helpful for weight loss and weight maintenance. Super
Mhm.
important for your microbiome. So your healthy bacteria feed on the fiber. It's called what's called probiotics. So I'm sorry, prebiotics. So we've got the probiotics, the bacteria themselves, and then we've got the prebiotics, which are the foods that are feeding those bacteria. And there's a lot of interesting literature around how having a healthy microbiome can actually support weight loss, support the loss of belly fat, certainly support the immune system. There's a lot of communication that's going on in your microbiome. We make like 80% of a lot of our neurotransmitters, like serotonin, that helps you relax. We also, our immune system is also coming from our microbiome. So it's really important to give it a workout and keep it healthy. So I've given a couple practical tips. We talked about supplementation. So what are some other practical tips if someone's listening and they're like, "Oh, this sounds great, but it's little bit over the top for me." What are some practical things some practical tips we can leave listeners with in terms of improving their health and well-being and vitality?
Yeah, so I would say, starting with diet, certainly those whole food diets and getting rid of the ultra processed foods. When you go to the grocery store, shop the outer perimeter. You're looking for the produce, you're looking for the meats, you're looking for those things that are made from nature. The stuff in the box is not. So if it comes in a box, generally speaking, it's not food. And so, shopping around the outer perimeters, drinking good, clean water. And that, the tap water in most cities is not super clean. And so, a reverse osmosis system or something like that you can filter your water through, and getting enough rest. So 7 to 8 hours of good rest every single night. To, ideally between the hours of 10 and 6 is the best times. 11 to 7, it's not gonna make that much of a difference. But just trying to get those 7 to 8 hours, and a lot of that's going to depend on the good sleep hygiene, right? So it's sleeping in a cool, dark room, no electronics, turning off your devices at least an hour prior to going to bed. And, and if you're going to be on them, at least wear some blue light blockers
Yeah,
while you're
great.
using them.
Great tips.
Yeah.
And something that's helped me too is I bought some new beautiful bedding. I had an old hand-me-down from my mom, and I was like, you know what? I just went to Costco and bought some beautiful bedding, but it just like with really nice 300 thread count organic sheets and
Mm.
making my bedroom nice, getting rid of the clutter, maybe using a little bit of lavender essential oil can really help you sleep if you put that on your pillow. Sometimes people want to, listen to some white noise, figuring out, but I think getting a routine and like all of these things, it's just prioritizing it. And again, but if you're having hormonal issues like hot flashes or night sweats, maybe find a physician who can support you and consider hormone replacement therapy. I don't know how you feel about it, but the more I read about it, the more it feels like we've got so many women having osteoporosis now, and it affects the estrogen decline affects your brain, it affects your bones, it affects your heart, it affects your muscle mass, it affects your mood. So I think it's a really personal decision, but I really encourage my clients, to have that conversation to find a doctor that is skilled in that area, can support them.
Absolutely, 100%. And I think too, you mentioned the brain, and there's no surprise that women are two-thirds more likely to get Alzheimer's than men are, and that's they believe now that that is the lack of estrogen as women get older. And so yeah, I am a big proponent if it's right for you, and like you said, with the right doctor and somebody who knows what they're doing with those bioidenticals, is to getting on that for sure.
Yeah, and a great book. There's the Why Estrogen Matters, which is a really
Yes.
terrific book to read if you're kind of questioning if that is right for you. Do
I think
you've
it
got that
I
one?
think it's on my bookshelf.
Yeah, it's super. It's super. So let's
Yeah.
talk a little bit about how do you approach clients who come to you with chronic health issues? So somebody who comes to you with irritable bowel syndrome, or maybe someone like myself who has some undiagnosed gut issues. How is that different than someone who's just like, I just don't feel as good as I know, as I want to feel, and I really need some support figuring out what to eat, what not to eat, and like need some support to putting it all together. But when someone really has a chronic issue, how do you approach that?
Yeah. So first of all, we look very extensively at the lifestyle, current lifestyle, and the medical history too, the medical background. A lot of times that people don't realize that they may have just had, a colonoscopy, for example, and you're under anesthesia, and that takes a long time to get out of your system. And if you're not detoxifying, it takes longer or it gets lodged into different areas of your body. So that's where we really get into it's critical for people who are having those chronic health issues to get the labs to find out exactly what's going on. And then correlating that with the lifestyle and medical history to figuring out where do we start first? What do we focus on first, and what might be causing it? Somebody who's just coming for, they just want to get a little bit healthier. That's where we just use the Dress for Health success of, eating those whole foods, eliminating the ultra processed foods, drinking the clean water, getting the proper rest, doing some sort of exercise, and managing the stress as best that you can. So even though we
Yeah.
use that with the chronic, the labs are really critical in that
And
case.
yeah, and in terms of stress, I have to say, I always now I'm so encouraging people to take something off your plate. And also, we need to push back. There's a wonderful book out there called Rest is Resistance. And this whole idea that we're kind of on this treadmill of making more money, working hard. I know you were a real estate agent, so you understand that like constantly, I got to be like selling, 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 selling. Need to do a little pushback and just say, you know what, I need to rest. And even if that's just more of a mentality of, I'm gonna go in with a little bit more ease, or I'm gonna spend 5 minutes in the morning just breathing. That's all meditation really is just listening to your breath and being present, taking something off your plate. Maybe asking for more help. I think that's a really hard thing for women to say to your partner or your kids, or even hiring some help, or even just letting something go, doing like, you know what? I'm not going to do the laundry, or I'm going to hire somebody to come in twice a month to help me with the housework. So we need to take some things off our plate so we don't feel stressed. So as stressed, need to kind of ditch perfection too. I find that like this idea that I have to be all together. It's like, I think about that commercial we grew up with, what was it? Anjali Woman, right? I bring home the
Oh,
bacon and put it in the pan, fry it up in the pan, and never let you
yeah.
forget you're a man. I'm a woman. I do it all. I'm like sexy and hot, and I'm making dinner, and I'm bringing home, I'm working and bringing home. It's like BS. Can we just get rid of all of that?
Yeah.
All of that rhetoric and BS stories. So, one
Yeah.
last question. What advice do you give people who feel overwhelmed? I think a lot of people, they hear this and it's like, oh my God, overhaul my diet. I go out every week with my friends and we eat out, and I've got teenagers and they expect like Domino's on Tuesday, and they really like their Stouffer's TV dinners, and I'm really busy and tired, and I don't like healthy food very much. Like I feel overwhelmed. I'm so out of shape that I'm kind of ashamed and embarrassed to start a workout program. So what do you tell the overwhelmed woman who's like, this seems great, but it's too much?
Yeah, one step at a time and baby steps. I mean, it's not all or nothing. It really isn't. Even if you, like you said, getting rid of that diet soda, even if it's just drinking more filtered water every day, even if it's just going to bed, just changing that time that you go to bed, even if it's just, getting up, if you sit at a desk all day, just getting up during the day and just going for a short walk around the block. Just doing something every day. If you just do 10% every month more of something, and you do that over 10 months to a year, you've reached your goal of 100% of what you wanted to do. And so it doesn't have to be that you do everything and change everything right now. Baby steps. Pick one thing that you're willing to do this week, this month, and just stick to it. And it becomes habit. I mean, some of the things I laughed at myself just last night when I realized how much of a habit I have of when I go to bed, and my whole routine of turning on that white noise, because I do have white noise in, getting the TV off, kind of just sitting down and drinking my tea just to relax and unwind for the day, keeping it cool, turning on the fan. It's a habit now that it's just like brushing your teeth. If I don't do it, it feels weird.
Yeah, and it's cumulative too. What happens
Yeah.
is you do something, like you give up that diet soda and you feel better.
Hmm.
Or, you have that apple and those almonds and you end up you have more energy in the afternoon. And then, yeah, the scale starts to budge. I always tell people to don't focus on the scale, because what
Right.
happens is when you make these lifestyle changes and you're used to I do these things because I want to lose weight. Now, I totally get that you want to lose weight. I think a lot of women in midlife really do, but make that a positive outcome, not the goal, because we don't have the control over weight that we think that we do. And when we focus on the weight, the scale doesn't go down, we feel bad, and we just give up the healthy eating completely. So I think we need to get that weight loss mentality off the plate. And also, you know, you're probably not going to get to the weight and the body size that you were in your 20s. And that's okay. I think we all need to be a lot more realistic and say, I'm going to focus on being healthy and feeling good. And also feeling beautiful, like feeling good about your body and just being amazed at what it can do for you. One of my biggest ahas that really changed my whole relationship with my body and how I took care of it and with my clients was learning self-compassion and doing this because you love and you care about yourself, not because you have fallen off a cliff and you haven't been taking good care of yourself. So you're beating yourself up. That just gets back into this mentality where you're undermining yourself, because when we criticize ourselves, what happens is it's very demotivational. Just like if somebody criticizes you and you didn't go fast enough or you weren't perfect on your diet, you just want to quit. You feel demoralized. Do it, like you said, those baby steps, reward yourself when you do it right. If you go off or you just decide like tonight, I'm going out dancing and I'm in a vineyard, I may have a glass of wine and maybe eat something from the food truck. It's going to be fun. It's something I do once a week as our sort of date night. My body can handle it. It's fine. It doesn't have to be perfect. It's let's focus on progress, not perfection, and that self-love
Absolutely.
piece.
Absolutely. And I think too, a piece of that too is that mindfulness of just being present in the moment and not worrying about what did you eat that you shouldn't have eaten, or what do I have to do, to in the next hour or tomorrow to make it better. Just be mindful, just the mindfulness of being in the present moment and enjoy every piece of it, because life's too short, really.
Yeah, that's great advice. And that mindful attitude is actually one of the kindest things you can do for yourself, because when you're mindful, when you're in the present moment, that really dissipates the stress. So what happens is when we're mindful, we have what's called a default mode network that runs down the center of our brain that's always scanning the environment for danger and what could go wrong. When we're mindful, that shuts off.
Hmm.
If I'm just present and if I'm just in the moment, enjoying doing what I'm doing, it really helps to dissipate the stress. But it's all practices, and we are totally here to help you. So if you are listening and thinking, gosh, that sounds great, I need some help, you can reach out to me at themidlifewhisperer.com. I would be delighted to sit down with you and have a complimentary wellness consult conversation. And I also have a free gift for you. It's the midlife wellness quiz. You can find it at raiseyourvibe.com. That's raiseyourvibe.com. It'll tell you things that you can improve in terms of your body, mind, emotions, and relationships. So you can check that out. And Wendy, if people want to get in touch with you, what's the best place?
Best place is wendyhandy.com. That's my,
WendyHandy.com. That is
yep.
very easy to remember. So reach out to Wendy. We both do different things, and I think if you're looking for someone to work with, they should be willing to sit down and have a conversation, answer your questions, get a feel for how you work together, and listen to your gut. Like if someone is like, wow, that person really sounds like they're going to be in my corner and help me, then you go for it. Because like you said, life is short, and why not feel as good as you can?
Amen.
All right. Well, thank you all so much for being here. I hope that you have gleaned some wisdom. Let me know in the comments box or email me at themidlifewhisperer.com. Let me know what's one little change that you are going to make today. Because as Wendy was saying, those little changes, those atomic habits add up to a lot. Thanks so much. And we'll see you on the next episode of Rock Your Midlife. Welcome to the Rock Your Midlife podcast, your transformative sanctuary designed to guide you through self-discovery and provide the tools you need to find your purpose and navigate life authentically. Whether you want to optimize your health, boost your happiness, or deepen your self-love, this podcast is your ultimate toolkit.